It's 4:32. We have a quorum.
Okay. Seeing that we have a quorum, this meeting is officially called to order. Would everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Student Commissioner Solano, would you lead us in the pledge?
I shall. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Recording Secretary, please take roll call.
Richard Santana. Angie Cano.
Here.
David De Leon.
Here.
Monica Garcia.
Here.
Mike Tardif.
Here.
Gary Wood.
Here.
Aurora Solano.
Here.
Isuri Ramos.
Present.
Third chair.
I'm
we
sorry?
have a quorum.
Thank you very much. This is the time for the Commission to consider matters under consent calendar items 1 and 2. Do any members of the Commission have corrections to the minutes or items they wish to pull for separate discussion or abstain on? The only addition I would like to make is that I noted on the minutes that Judson Brown was not listed as in attendance from the staff.
Okay.
And was the absence for Commissioner Santana excused?
Was Santana excused? No.
Okay. Do I have a motion to consider items 1 and 2?
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. The matter is approved with 5-0 with Commissioner Santana absent. The next order of business is consideration of the regular business items. The first item on the business calendar is item number 3, a public hearing, the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, which is Strategic Plan number 4.1. Is there any member of the public that would like to speak on this matter? I believe that's no. So we'll move on to asking if the staff has a report on this matter.
Chairperson Wood, we do have a brief presentation by our staff.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for being here this evening in considering our Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. My name is Sylvia Vasquez. I'm the Community Development Analyst for the City, and I will be running through a presentation to give you a little bit of the background of the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. Sometimes you won't sit through this at every meeting. This is a new commission. We have a lot of new members, and we wanted to be comprehensive so that you have a background of how we develop this plan. The Consolidated Annual Action Plan process is a process that we take every 5 years with the City of Santa Ana. It's a process where we outreach to the community and work with our community partners in an effort to bring together priorities and goals that we see are needed in the community. This consolidated plan process consists of the 5-year plan with subsequent action plans and a caper to report on all of our accomplishments for those years. The consolidated plan, again, is a 5-year document and analyzes housing and community priorities. It also outlines strategies to meet those priority needs, identifies programs, and also identifies benchmarks for success. So we have a 5-year plan. With that comes an action plan. The action plan is more specific projects and activities that we are going to embark on the current year, and we're setting goals for each year to make sure that we're meeting those priorities of the community. Once the year comes to an end, we look at our annual action plan and we compare it to actual accomplishments. That's where the consolidated annual evaluation report comes in. We prepare it at the end of each fiscal year, and it provides the annual data of accomplishments. And that is the very long document that all of you were fortunate enough to review. The consolidated plan process and the CAPER, the report actually consists of 3 HUD grants. The 3 HUD grants that are included in the report are the Community Development Block Grant, the Home Investment Partnership Program, and the Emergency Solutions Grant. So this is what we've done in the last year with these 3 grant sources. The Community Development Block Grant is the largest grant that we do receive through CPD, the Community Planning and Development from HUD. And the purpose is to develop viable urban communities by providing decent housing, suitable living environments, and expanding economic opportunities for low and moderate income individuals. Certain eligible activities that we are able to undertake include capital improvements such as parks or streets, also public services like youth services, senior services, family services, housing rehabilitation such as our single family rehabilitation program that we do have, or maybe having a larger multifamily rehab project where we're doing rental units as opposed to just single family homes. Code enforcement is also an activity that we do undertake, and economic development through the form of microenterprise grants. Just to bring up some highlights, for this past year, we did complete 6 community playgrounds at Rosita, Thornton, Delhi, Madison, Lily King, and Centennial Parks. So those are 2 samples of the new upgraded playgrounds that are now in our city. For public services, we did fund 11 nonprofits and 3 city programs. Those programs served over 4,300 children, youth, and family members, homeless individuals, and seniors. I have some images of our senior program, our music program, and one of our tutoring programs. Single family rehabilitation and mobile home rehabilitation is also an important component of our programs. Again, through HUD, Housing and Urban Development, one of the priorities is that we improve our housing stock. We do that by code enforcement efforts, going out in our community to impacted areas and inspecting units to ensure that they're meeting code. If we find units that are lacking and need rehabilitation, we offer loans to rehabilitate those homes. These are just a few samples of a kitchen rehabilitation and a water heater rehabilitation. And in this year, we did complete 3 single-family rehabilitations and 4 mobile home units. Okay. The Home Investment Partnership Program is the 2nd largest grant that we do receive for this plan. And the purpose is to expand the supply of affordable housing for persons of low and very low income. Eligible activities include providing funding to CHODOs, those are community housing and development organizations, for new construction projects. Also, single-family and owner-occupied rehabilitation is eligible. Multifamily acquisition and rehabilitation as well, and down payment assistance. We'll highlight some of the home projects. The Andalusia affordable rental units, we completed the construction of those units, a total of 70 units, and all units are now fully leased by low and moderate income individuals. The Orchard is another project that is funded through home funds. That is 71 units of affordable housing. Construction is currently underway, and it's providing permanent supportive housing to chronically homeless individuals. Additionally, there is the Depot at Santiago with 70 affordable rental units. This project is funded through HOME, CDBG, and a multitude of other funding sources. And it used CDBG for acquisition, used HOME for the construction portion of it. And what the construction is currently underway, and it should be completed within the next year. One project that is in the pipeline that does use, again, home funds and CDBG funds would be the Santa Ana Arts Collective. That's 58 affordable rental units. This past year, we did approve the loan awards for the project. It is an adaptive reuse project, and it's going to have an emphasis on artist housing. So those are just some of the home highlights that we'd like to share with you today. And just to touch on our third program that's covered by this plan is the Emergency Solutions Grant. The purpose of this grant is to assist individuals and families to quickly regain stability in permanent housing after experiencing homelessness. We do homelessness prevention, street outreach, shelter, and rapid rehousing. Just to give you some impactful figures, over 300 Santa Ana residents were provided services through the street outreach efforts. Over 1,400 Santa Ana residents were provided with shelter. 81 were provided with homelessness prevention, and 37 were provided with rapid rehousing services. In addition, unspent funds from the previous fiscal year in 14-15 were redirected for a housing navigator. That housing navigator will be able to coordinate services between our nonprofit groups. Those are the projects that we wanted to highlight with you that are part of this plan that we will be submitting to HUD. And just to let you know about the process for the plan, we did publish a public hearing notice and a public notice on August 9th, where we informed the public that we were going to have this public hearing and that our document was going to be available for public review. So this is a document where the public is welcome to comment on it, and any comments that the public makes will then be incorporated into the final document. Additionally, we are having this public hearing, so if anybody was interested in speaking on the matter, they were welcome to come today, August 23rd. With your recommendation, this document will go to City Council for September 19th, and once approved for submittal, we will be submitting it to HUD as our accomplishments for this last fiscal year. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you very much, Sylvia. Do any of the commission members have questions of the staff? And we'll go ahead and start at the end. Thank you.
Hi, I have a few questions after reviewing the report. So on page 13 of the report, on table 11 and 12, there were goals set for the 1 year, and then we see a report back of what was actually met. So my question was, there's a few sections there where there was a goal of 0 for different areas, like number of non-homeless households to be provided affordable housing units, number of special needs households to be provided affordable housing units, and number of households supported through rental assistance, number of households supported through the production of new units. So I'm just wondering why the city set a goal of 0 for those sections. And in one of the sections, there was a goal of 0, but they were actually able to help 70 households. So I'm just wondering what the process was for that goal setting.
And before we move forward with that response, Chairman Wood, I just wanted to confirm that this is a public hearing for this item. I believe there may be a script up there with you about how to open the public hearing. I know that you had asked if any members of the public had comments, but I believe there's a certain language that we need to read into the record before we can go forward.
There was additional script written beyond that, but I had asked if that had to be read and was told it didn't. So
why don't, just to cover our bases, why don't we go ahead and read that now, just so that we make sure that we comply with all the public hearing requirements.
Okay, thank you. I had asked if there were any members of the public that would like to speak on the matter. I did not believe so, but if so, you may fill out a request to speak form with the secretary. You will have 3 minutes to speak. Also, we will not accept any additional requests to speak cards once we begin the public comment session. If you haven't already done so, please give your form to the recording secretary. I don't believe we have any, so we will continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the Commission. In response to your question, thank you very much for bringing attention to this important section. First and foremost, it's important to say that our city is limited by the amount of funds that we have to provide affordable housing. Following the dissolution of Redevelopment Agency funding in 2012, as well as the Federal Budget Control Act, the sequestration cuts, we're now working with $14 million less per year to provide affordable housing for our community. Each year when we set these goals, we attempt to set them based on realistic aspirations that we have with the funding that we have available. So for 2016-17, we set a goal based on our resources that 50 households would be provided, 50 homeless households would be provided with affordable housing units. And through the actions of our commission, as well as the leadership and direction of our council, we were able to achieve 37 units being rehabbed for homeless households at the guest house project. However, for the number of non-homeless households to be provided, thank you very much for bringing this to our attention prior to the meeting. We didn't expect any non-homeless household units to be developed this year, based on our projections of the completion date for one of our newest affordable housing projects, the Andalusia project at 815 North Harbor. However, it was completed in April. And so the actual units completed for non-homeless households should be 70 instead of 0. For the number of special needs households to be provided affordable housing units, our one-year goal was 0, and our actual units provided was 0. Our council and due to our limited resources, we weren't able to direct any of our funds for or develop any units for special needs households, seniors, persons with disabilities, etc. In regards to your question for on the table 12, the number of households supported through our rental assistance program. Our CAPER covers our home program, our emergency solutions grants program, and our CDBG program, and we provide rental assistance through our Section 8 program, which is not covered by this report. So what you're not seeing here is the 2,700 assisted families assisted by our housing authority. And in terms of the number of households supported through the acquisition of existing units, we set a one-year goal of 8 households, and we weren't able to achieve that goal. We acquired 0 units. However, if you look above that at the number of households supported through the rehab of existing units, it is 37. And the guest house project is an acquisition rehab project. So that 0, those 8 are also very much included in the 37 that we achieved through the number of households supported through the rehab of existing units.
So I have 2 more questions, but I don't know if anybody else wishes to speak before I speak too much.
No, go ahead. We'll go one at a time. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. So I have a question regarding the actions taken to reduce lead-based paint hazards. That's discussed on page 18. So on page 5 of the report, we see that code enforcement inspected 3,206 units. So my question is, do we know how many of those units that were inspected were constructed prior to 1978, which is when lead-based paint was more popular? And how many, if any, were tested for lead-based paint hazards?
Thank you again, Commissioner, for the question. In regards to page 5 of the report, where it states that 3,206 units were inspected, those units were inspected by our code enforcement department. Our code enforcement department inspects for health and safety code violations and not for lead. Lead testing is done for our housing units that's going to use our HUD funds, our home funds, our CDBG funds for housing rehabilitation. But the units, the 3,206 units that you're looking at there, were inspected by our code enforcement department, who receives a portion of our CDBG funds for the administration of their activities in eligible low-income neighborhoods throughout our city. In terms of how many of those units were constructed prior to 1978, so all of our single-family homes requiring rehabilitation loans, which was 5 total for the last 2 years, were built prior to 1978, and no mobile homes fit that criteria.
So do we have any data for how many of the units that were inspected by code enforcement were built prior to 1978?
We can get that for you. We can inquire with our code enforcement department on that.
And are there any circumstances under which code enforcement will do testing for lead in the paint?
We can also inquire with our code enforcement department on that as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
And then my last question is referring to page 17. So in this section, you talk about actions that the city is taking to mitigate barriers that the city faces to providing affordable housing. So after reading, as I read that, one of the barriers is the increasing rents that we have in the region. And I don't see that any action is reported that is being taken to address the increase in rents. So are there any actions that the city is taking to do that? To address increasing rent in the city?
So administratively, we as staff do everything possible to exhaust our funds every single year and fully utilize the resources under our authority to provide affordable housing and address the affordable housing need in our community. And we appreciate the leadership and direction of our commission as well as our city council for policy direction in terms of addressing other rent affordable, the increases in affordable rents and major policy decisions in our community.
And I don't know if you can answer this, but are there any policy actions that other cities are taking to address the increasing rents?
We definitely know of other cities who are approving rent stabilization measures, and a couple cities up north, and we've done some research on those measures. But that's primarily the research that staff has conducted on what other cities are doing to stabilize their rents.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ramos, do you have any other questions?
No, that's it, thank you.
Okay, and I apologize for not addressing you by name, but I didn't get to meet you before the meeting, so I apologize.
No worries.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes, just have one question. First off, congratulations on all the achievements. This is a great report. Thank you for all your efforts. My question was with regard to economic development. I noticed that in previous years we've had a lot of activity in the, it seems like the downtown area where that's most of the focus. And I know that area kind of works on its own, and there's associations and the people there maintain the level of activity there in terms of economics and all that. But is there a reason why there was less focus in that area from this agency this year?
It's more of when businesses come to us to submit applications. We go based on the applications that come in, ask them to fill out and meet certain criteria, and once that criteria is met, so we didn't really take a focus in the downtown area, but the downtown took a focus on the program, and that's why there were so many coming in during that previous years. This last year we did have the 3 microenterprise grants, and they were not in the downtown area, but they were in areas of the community that were low and moderate income. And we do make an effort to outreach to businesses. The first 2 years, I think, were the hottest years because it was a brand new program. And now we're seeing new businesses that are establishing coming to us, much newer than before.
In other parts of the city?
In other parts of the
Okay.
city.
So I do remember that several commission members did have concerns about that, but we were only focusing on downtown. So I kind of wanted to get more.
Let me just give you a quick example. MD Fitness is a great asset to our community. It's on Warner Street, and what they're doing is fitness for low-income individuals or the low-income community in the area. It's Zumba, so something that we haven't seen before. It's a benefit to the business owner because they're able to grow that business, but in addition, it's also a great benefit to the community because here in the city we are focused on health and moving, and so great programs going on with economic development right now.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Tardif?
Thank you for the report. It's very thorough. The question I have relates to lead in the environment, not so much lead-based paint hazards, but I think a few weeks ago, maybe a couple of months ago, there was an article came out in the media that in particular Santa Ana has got a lot of lead in the dirt, and that's affecting the health of the children. This may not be within the scope of this particular commission, but I was wondering if you had any information on how the city is dealing with that.
Well,
Vice Chair, we can certainly report back. We can look within our Public Works Department as well as our PIO to see what information has been released on any potential studies related to lead. We can report back.
Right. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Tenant Commissioner Frazier?
Thank you. Yes, it was very thorough report. Thank you. I just had really two questions, and one of them is just mostly structural. The other one is regarding ESG matching funds. This is still pending typographical and formatting issues. So, okay. As far as the ESG matching funds, you're in page 9. You say that the program requires a dollar-for-dollar match requirement, and that the city requires the matching requirements to be met through the funding agencies. But I was looking at the CR 75 on page 35 and 36, and I think maybe I missed something, but I couldn't get those to balance at a dollar for dollar.
The matching funds are passed on to our nonprofits, and they do provide additional funds beyond what we are required of them to match. So as an example, if we provide them with a grant for $30,000, they themselves need to put in the $30,000, but they may put in $65,000 for that program. So it does not necessarily match dollar for dollar.
Okay, and what happens as a result of the overages that they put in along with those matching funds?
They're just counted in the report as something additional. They don't get anything more for that, except that when we are reviewing their application for the next year, we are looking at those programs where we can utilize our funds to the greatest extent, and those organizations that are providing more funds towards our program obviously are going to be rated a little bit higher.
So those funds actually apply towards that fiscal year, they're not carried over to the next?
They are not carried over. It's per calendar year.
Thank you. Commissioner De Leon?
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Great job putting this together. It looks like a lot of work. Very quickly, down payment assistance. Are those funds ever fully exhausted? And if not, is there a way that the public can look and see, okay, there's $300,025 left. I need to jump on it. Is there any kind of access, public access, to see how much of this funding is left over?
Unfortunately, the funding for down payment assistance has not been exhausted over the years due to the pricing of homes in Orange County. So we do have a great interest in it, and at any time people can call and ask how much money we have in there. So over the last few years, we've only funded about 3. But there is a lot of interest. We do a lot of down payment assistance workshops where we get a lot of interest. We get up to 150 people sometimes at our meetings.
Is there anything on the city website where myself as a resident, Joe Schmo, can see, okay, this is how much is left? Just curious.
Yeah, on the website, I don't believe it's actually published now.
No.
Yeah, there is not. We in February of this year, we started publishing all of our affordable housing funds, including our housing successor agency funds,
sure,
our CDBG funds, our inclusionary housing funds, and our home funds. So if any member of the public wanted to see exactly how much we have in our current balance of home funds, which our home funds pay for our down payment assistance program, they can reference that report. Perfect. And see the entire balance. As Claudia mentioned, we have struggled to exhaust those funds each year. But what happens to those funds? Any unexhausted funds that are not used for down payment assistance are then reused for multifamily rental affordable housing development.
Is there what have you done to get the word out as far as reaching out to your community that this is available?
Okay, so we use the Nixle service, the community service announcement via email, and that's been very popular. Whenever we use a Nixle, they actually generate a lot of business by phone calls, people walking in, and then in the past we've actually had the news media react to those nixles. Univision and Telemundo have immediately called and asked for interviews. In fact, just this week, last week we promoted a nixle for our inclusionary housing project over at City Ventures on Harbor in Kent. And within a half hour of that nixle going out, Univision requested an interview. And within an hour or two, we were at the property doing an interview with Univision promoting those inclusionary properties. And the same thing happened when we did down payment assistance. We did a nixle about a year ago, and Univision actually published that nixle, went on TV and talked about it. So we were inundated with phone calls, and people were coming in as far as Bakersfield and Los Angeles and other areas of Southern California because they misunderstood the nixle and they thought that it was, for anywhere in the county. So we specified the next time we put out a nixle when Univision called is please emphasize this is only to purchase in Santa Ana. So we definitely do get a lot of advertising through the nixle. We also advertise in the Parks and Recreation booklet and in the water bill. So we advertise that way, and I think we get a lot of information. Also, as a result of the nixle, a lot of times radio stations pick up, and people were calling me and saying, oh, I heard about this on the radio station. And we didn't even realize it had been on the radio, but some of the local stations had picked it up.
So the issue is not the amount of traction, it's the amount of people that qualify?
It's the amount of people that qualify given the properties. Today, as an example, at our loan committee, we did pre-qualify a young gentleman who meets all the qualifications. He has the 3% saved up. Unfortunately, his qualification amount is $210,000, $250,000. When you look at that, that's almost unrealistic to find something under $300,000 in Orange County. But we hope that our down payment assistance will bump him up a little bit to possibly find his dream home, his starter home.
My last question in regards to the down payment assistance, has there been an interest in potentially partnering up with OCAR, the Orange County Association of Realtors? They have a heavy and deep network of real estate agents. I mean, they're the people selling Santa Ana real estate. Mm-hmm. Or lenders, people doing offering loans. Has there been any potential partnerships in those regards?
Yes. In fact, I actually have gone on Wednesdays. There's a local realtors group that meets at Original Mike's. I've gone there in the past and done a presentation, and I always send them emails and encourage them to get the word out. I've gotten calls. A local agent who also was on Univision this week along with me, she called me this week and wants to set up a meeting with me next week to discuss other partnerships. We also partner with Neighbor Works. They're located in Orange because they also have additional funds for down payment assistance that can be partnered with our funds. And they also promote, they have the home ownership center that they have to take the class through them. So we are definitely promoting there. 2 months ago, I also went to the city of La Habra. They had a down payment assistance workshop and on like a fair on a Saturday. But unfortunately, it wasn't very well attended because a beach day, very hot day that day, and not a lot of people heard about it. But there were about, I think, 50 people or so that did show up.
Well, thank you. Thank you. One recommendation in regards to that, as far as getting the word out, use your schools. You have 50,000, 60,000 students in the city of Santa Ana, and they all relate to at least one or two homes. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of access. You're going to reach 300,000 people if you reach our students or go through our students. So that's a very unused network, especially with something as good as this, especially and considering that it's not exhausted.
Right.
And there's a lot of people on that cusp and that bubble. Just have to get that information. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And just one other note, going back to that nixle, it has proven to be very effective because people take that nixle, they share it on Facebook, and one of the school districts did put it on their internal publication. One of my colleagues from another agency, she forwarded to me that it was one of the school districts actually posted that as well. But it definitely is good advice. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I continue? I have another question.
Absolutely.
In regards to the Santa Ana Arts Collective, I'm sure this is because this is a report, but I just in question with that with the 58 affordable rental units, specifically for artists. Define what qualifies an artist to get into this this housing unit. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Commissioner De Leon. For the Santa Ana Arts Collective, our plan of action is after the project breaks ground, so once they start construction, we're then going to begin meeting on a monthly basis with the developer, the property manager, as well as our staff who work with our Arts and Culture Commission. And we're gonna come up with those exact definitions that tie back to the original request for proposals that was approved by City Council in the summer of 2015, as well as the exact definition that would comply with our Fair Housing Act requirements. And once we have that information, I would estimate in the next 3 to 6 months.
Yeah.
We will absolutely report that back to you.
Thank you, sir. And that's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cano?
I just wanted to know what exactly you meant by Nixle service. It's the first time I hear about it, so I just wanted to make sure I understood it.
Nixle is basically an email distribution service that we have here in the city.
Okay.
Folks can sign up to get updates. That Nixle service, aside from being an email, it also posts directly to our Facebook account. So the information is distributed to a wide range of individuals who have signed up.
Okay. And also, I just wanted to make sure that our residents were getting these resources, kind of like what Dave was talking about, because there have been a couple of fairs throughout the summer, and I never saw any of these projects talked about. And I had some people come to me and say, I'm about to lose my home, like what should I do? And the first thing that comes up, the first people that we think of is Rescue Mission, because people don't know about this, but that's just what I've seen in the community. Also emails when they do like signups for any service, like even when they reach out to Salvation Army or anything, they don't have an email. So people that really need this don't even have a laptop sometimes or a computer or access to it. So that worries me that people are not, the city's not reaching out to these people. Phone numbers, they work. Sometimes they're out, they're never home. They're probably home at 7 p.m. That's my experience. So I don't know how could we be successful reaching out to people that are usually never home answering a phone. And then the water bill, some people just rent, so they just pay like their fees. So those are the neediest people, the hardest to reach. And so I just feel like it's not enough what is happening. I know it's a lot, but the way our community works, I don't feel like this is enough to reach out to the neediest in our community. So that was just a comment I had on the side. I really want our community to have access to this, so hopefully just having a stronger reach out effort.
Another avenue that we can pursue, and I'm not sure if this is already happening in our department, but we can team up with our Neighborhood Initiatives program that is housed in Planning and Building, and they meet directly with the neighborhood associations and presidents. So perhaps we can probably provide that information through that avenue as a means to improve our communication.
Probably. Yeah, there's a lot. But yeah, just being present. I think that's my biggest concern. I don't see our organizations being present in all these community events that I've gone to. I think that would be a start, just being there. And that's it. And everything else, thank you. I know there are projects that are missing from here because in our neighborhood at Windsor Village, we also got our playground improved, and Centennial's right behind. So that was a mess previously. So we were very happy to see everything working as it should be, so no accidents would happen. So there's still a lot of work that we're still trying to get done. We're just requesting the city. I know it's all these emails, all these calls get annoying, but thank you for everything. So that was great.
Thank you. Senior Tenant Commissioner Vasquez, any questions?
No, not at this time.
Thank you. And Student Commissioner, or Solano, pardon me, any questions?
I had questions previously. I had questions about the Nixle. Thank you for asking that question. And now I know that the email is an option, but is there a different option besides email? Like, how do people know about these emails and what email they should use to sign up for these things? And with Mr. De Leon?
Sure.
Yes, talking about the schools, yes, I think schools are the best access because in my school we have our principal, vice principal, who recommended me for this housing commission, and he asks certain things like we have a position for our city or our student council representative for our parents. So emailing the students who see the opportunity that their parents could take, like if they are realizing like my parents can't afford me these things because they can barely pay a house, something like that, they can realize that there is an opportunity for them to have a good home with a good education also. That was it.
Thank you. I'm finding one of the benefits to being chair is that as you go down the line, your list of 30 questions becomes about 3 because everyone's asked some great questions here, so thank you. I'll go ahead and ask a few more before I see if there's any final questions. And I apologize if I missed some of the things you may have already said as I was trying to take notes. Just real quick, on code enforcement, do you roughly know how many the city employs in that branch, and are there openings in that, or is it fully staffed?
As far as code enforcement positions, I think there are openings currently for that particular position. Off the top of my head, I would say there's about 15 code enforcement officers throughout the city.
Is that, and for the size of the city, is that fairly?
It is. We are understaffed, to be honest. And we're looking at different avenues in terms of beefing up that entire operation, either through part-time or providing technology to make these employees more effective and efficient. It all comes down to the funding resources that we have. And CDBG, just to mention, does fund quite a bit of this program as well.
Oh, it does. Okay. I think that was sort of what I was alluding to, was it just felt like it might be an understaffed area just as I drive around and look at some of the things that seem to be violations. In reading through the presentation, which was extremely thorough and lengthy, I noticed there was a new position that I believe was just put into last year's budget, the homeless housing navigator. And I was wondering if that has proven to yield results with their ability to place some homeless people with property owners.
Actually, and Terry, if you want to join me, that position was contracted with Illumination Foundation. And so we took unexpended fiscal year 14-15 ESG funds, and we allocated that through commission approval and then city council approval to fund a housing navigator position with Illumination Foundation. And Terry can talk about the results of that investment.
Illumination Foundation has been very successful in going out into the community and working very closely with landlords and property managers and to educate them on what it would be like if they were to open up one of their units for one of these individuals experiencing homelessness, to reassure them that their organization is behind them and that they would have their back if there were any concerns or questions. And they were successful in getting a few more units on board. The Housing Navigator is something that has been rather new in the last couple of years, and together with 211 Orange County Illumination Foundation is sharing their information, and so it's now going more widespread throughout the county, and 211 Orange County has just hired 3 new individuals to do exactly that, to go out into the community. We know that there are not a lot of opportunities for our individuals who are experiencing homelessness to obtain housing, but there are some units out there, and so it's just going out and working with those landlords that have those opportunities, sharing the information, and hoping that they jump on board with our program.
Thank you very much, Terry. Mm-hmm. 2 other questions, and I believe Sylvia touched on this in the presentation, but As far as the some of the new housing opportunities that are coming due or being built, such as Santa Ana Veteran Village, Aqua Housing, the Orchard, and Andalucia, when do those come online roughly? Or is it later this year? Is it next year?
Great question. So Andalucia was just completed in April. The depot at Santiago, the expected completion date is December. It is this coming December. And all of our commissioners will receive an invitation to the grand opening. The Santa Ana Veterans Village project, they applied on June 28th for 9% low-income housing tax credits. And based on early projections, they are not likely to be funded this round. And so they are going to they are going to try and identify other sources of funding for their project and resubmit another application next March. And the Aqua Housing project, the same situation. They also applied for 9% low-income housing tax credits on June 28th. Early projections show they are not likely to get funded. And so their path forward is to pursue possibly the No Place Like Home funds that are going to be coming down from the state of California, and then resubmit 9% low-income housing tax credit application next March or next June.
Thank you very much. And my last question, I believe, may have been touched on by Commissioner Ramos, but if I missed it, I apologize. On page 35 and 36, with regard to expenditures, 2016, which is the third column over, is really insignificant when compared to years prior. Is that a fiscal year type of overlap issue, or what? Or is the reporting just not up to date on those?
Those, when we had to put this report together, those were what was pulled from the report at that point in time. So that was about 2 weeks ago, especially with ESG and some other programs. Those invoices are still coming in, and those numbers will be updated before we send them to HUD. They will even be updated as we give them to the City Council in September.
Right. The fiscal year for the city ends in what, July 3rd? Is it end of June or?
June 30th.
July to June.
July to June. Okay, so it just seemed odd that these were way under. There's a lot of stuff that must still be outstanding.
And do you have some ESG projects?
Judson, if I'm not mistaken, these ESG grant funds work on a reimbursement basis, correct? So I believe the expenditure isn't recorded until these providers or these organizations submit their invoices for reimbursement.
Okay, that sort of helps me understand that. Thank you. Are there any other commissioner questions? With that in mind, do we have a motion to recommend item 3, the public hearing consolidated annual performance and evaluation report, strategic plan number 4.1? Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Do I have a second for that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Ramos. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed, say no. The motion passes with unanimous consent, with Commissioner Santana absent. The second item on the business calendar is item number 4, the quarterly report for Housing Authority, April 2017 through June 2017, strategic plan number 5. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak on this matter? And Mr. Hodges, should I continue with the rest of the verbiage?
No, this is not actually a public hearing, but that.
Okay, pardon me. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you very much. Will there be a staff report on this agenda item? No. Thank you. And I will just open up for questions from the commissioners. I won't go one by one, but if anybody has questions on this report, please ask those questions. We're on item number, the second item on the business calendar, which is the quarterly report for Housing Authority. Number 4. No questions? I had a couple questions, I believe. Maybe I'm on the wrong agenda item. For the Housing Choice Voucher, there were 16,375 applications. I believe. How does that compare to prior years historically? Is that higher, average, low?
Thank you, Chair. Chairman, the last time we opened up our waiting list for our Housing Choice Voucher Program was in 2007, and at that time we received over 10,000 applications. So this time when we opened up our waiting list 7 years later, we received 6,375 applications more than we did last time, approximately.
So almost 50-60% higher. Just for my own edification, there were 5,000 that were picked in a lottery type style, and there are currently 4,405 that are still on the list. Did the other 595 find other means or drop off or assisted?
Actually, we have been calling families off of the waiting list intermittently since we established this waiting list in August 2015. And the number of applicants, it fluctuates. One of the reasons it fluctuates is because U.S. military veterans are allowed to apply and continue to submit their applications even though the waiting list is closed. And so you could potentially, one quarter see an increase in that number or a decrease in that number. But just as an example, in terms of the families that were pulling off of that waiting list, we recently in July pulled 100 applicants off the top of that waiting list. And in August, in fact, next week, we're pulling off another 200 applicants off of the top of that waiting list. The applicants who come off of the waiting list, when we schedule an orientation for, say, 200 applicants, we generally find that about 100 of those applicants show up. And then of those 100, we generally find that about 50 are in fact eligible for a voucher after determining their eligibility for assistance. So the remainder of the families who fall off of the waiting list due to not showing up for that orientation appointment and or not being determined eligible, we are not sure what other forms of assistance they find to meet their needs.
Thank you. One other question for myself. The report indicated there were 13 new admissions processed during the reporting period. Is that for the quarter?
Yes, sir. From April 1st to June 30th.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Ramos.
So I have a question or maybe two regarding Chart 2, which shows us the household size, and the pie chart that shows us the family size, Chart 3. So on Chart 3, we see that of the 2,584 households that are receiving rental assistance, about 1% of them has a family size of 7 people. So that would be about maybe 26 families that are receiving that assistance. And then under household size, we see that there's a few families that have over 7 members. So I'm just wondering what the likelihood of families that are that large receiving rental assistance might be. Because I know that here it states that the policy is 1 bedroom for every 2 family members. So is there a certain limit where realistically the housing choice voucher wouldn't provide enough to be able, for example, if you have a family of 7, you now need a 4-bedroom unit. And I don't know how much a 4-bedroom unit is going for right now in Santa Ana, but realistically speaking, would a housing choice voucher be able to provide enough assistance to be able to afford that? Or in your experience with what you've seen?
Well, based on our data, roughly 35% of the families, when we issue a voucher, there's 35% of the families actually are able to find and locate a unit. It's definitely based on, due to market demand as well as the value of the voucher, which is set based on our fair market rents published by HUD each year. Our 4-bedroom vouchers that we would issue to a 7-person household, Miriam, you want to discuss your experience in terms of those households leasing up?
Well, those units are harder to find, but we do have families that just about a month ago, we had a family of 12 looking for a unit, and somehow, they're able to find these units. We do have large extra large families on the program. So they're out there, and they have the ability to go not just in Santa Ana, but anywhere where they find this unit. So yes, there's definitely the possibility of them finding a unit.
So there are success stories.
Yes.
Okay,
absolutely.
that was my concern, that
Yes.
it might be unrealistic for some of these families to find housing with that voucher.
Yes, I believe we have one 6-bedroom household on the program, and then not very many, 5 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, and then the 3 bedrooms are mostly common. And then once you're on the program, you have the ability to, if, for example, you have a family of 8, and you now have to look for a 4-bedroom, we have in our policy that you can actually look for a 3-bedroom. You're able to go up or down 1 bedroom size, and we allow that. So it's easier that way too, to find a unit.
Okay, and then my follow-up question, so I know in the housing element, we see that the largest need is for family housing. So I'm wondering if families that are on the waiting list have any sort of priority over households of 1 or 2 people, which I know is the majority of those on the waiting list right now.
No, it's date and time. And
Okay.
actually, I take that back. It's by position. So
Okay.
when we did the lottery, and the 5,000 applicants, they all got a score number, and they maintain that unless we get veterans that are applying, then they go right to the top of the waiting list. But the people that were originally selected on the 5,000, they keep that number. That never changes. So if I'm pulling 100 and 50 of those are veterans, I'm going to get 1 through 50 from the original 5,000.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do any other commissioners have questions of this report? Thank you. With that in mind, do we have a motion to recommend item 4, the quarterly report for Housing Authority, dated April through June of 2017, strategic plan number 5?
So move.
Thank you, Commissioner De Leon. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Vice Chair Tardif. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The motion passes with unanimous consent, with Commissioner Santana absent. At this time, we are open for public comments. Do any members of the public have comments they wish to share with the Commission? Please know you have 3 minutes to speak. I do not believe so. Do we have any staff member comments for today?
Yes, good afternoon. I'd like to introduce to this commission Robert Smeed. He is our newest interim CDA director. He's going to be helping us out on an interim basis, hopefully around 6 months in terms of support. On a go-forward basis, you will see him staffing this commission as well, and we'll be working directly with the staff. So with that, I'd like to just introduce him.
Hello. Thank you. No other staff comments?
That is it.
Thank you. At this time, we would like to ask for commission member comments, and I would like to start on my right this time, beginning with Student Commissioner Solano.
Thank you for the presentation. I didn't know that many things were happening in our city, and it's nice to hear that so many things are, like extra parks and new housings are available for the people. And I'm hoping that Gilbert and Ms.
Isuri.
And Mr. Mintz. I hope that you will love this commission, and I hope that we can become friends. That's it.
Thank you very much. Senior Tenant Commissioner Vasquez, any comments?
Not really. I'm just trying to find a few words this time.
Absolutely, understood. Commissioner Cano?
I just wanted to welcome everybody. Robert, Isuri, Vince, welcome to the commission. We're all very excited to know more about you, and anything, we're here. So welcome.
Thank you. Commissioner De Leon?
Yes. I want to welcome Vince. Welcome to the commission. Mr. Vasquez, welcome. And Ms. Ramos, welcome to the commission. Looking forward to serving with you guys. It looks like a full house, so I'm excited to be here. I do have a plug, so I'll put in my $5 for the plug. Except if anybody in the audience or up here likes to play golf, September 10th, Newport Beach Golf Course. It's an executive course, but it's to benefit. It's a fundraiser to benefit Santa Ana High School through their athletics program. We started an alumni group. So if anybody is interested, you can definitely let me know and see me hit the golf balls in every direction except forward. So thank you. That's all.
Thank you. Tenant Commissioner Frazier.
Thank you for the warm welcome. Everybody's been really great and helpful thus far. I'm really looking forward to sitting on the commission and learning a lot more about Santa Ana and the way that the internals work and being a part of this community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Vice Chair Tardif.
I'd like to thank staff for the excellent reports and welcome the new commissioners.
Thank you. Commissioner Garcia.
I wanted to welcome as well our newest commissioners. I hope you enjoy your experience, and congratulations to Chairperson Wood on chairing your first meeting, and welcome also to our interim executive director. I wanted to report a little bit about the Historic Resources Commission. As your representative on that commission, I don't know if you're aware, but we meet once a quarter. However, this year we've been meeting very often due to the number of businesses and properties that have been applying for historic designation. And basically we did have an increase in applications because a few years ago the city reduced the fees to apply for historic designation, so we had an increase of applicants. Unfortunately, they did extend the program, the reduction of fees, but it ended this past month, earlier this month. So we did get an increase of applications for people trying to meet the deadline to submit their application, and we're going to have about 4 or 5 extra meetings coming up. And that's a good thing because it means that more homes and businesses hopefully will be designated as historic, and as important as it is to have affordable housing for our residents, it's important to also preserve our history of the city. So these people are willing to maintain their homes as with the historic designation and the requirements that come with that. But unfortunately the cost is going to go up again, and the fees to apply, just for your information, the city was waiving the cost of like I said, they reduced the fees to $2,000 for a few years, and now it's back up to $10,000, almost $10,000. So it's a big increase to what it was before. So hopefully that won't discourage people from applying. So, but if anybody has any questions, let me know. I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Commissioner Ramos.
I would just like to say thank you to everyone for the very warm welcome. I'll also welcome our interim executive director, and for Commissioner De Leon, once a saint, always a saint. And that's it.
Thank you very much. I'd like to take my opportunity to welcome Commissioner Ramos, and once again also welcome Tenant Commissioners Vasquez and Frazier. Look forward to working with you. It is sort of exciting to be up here with almost a full podium of individuals serving the community. I'd also like to say once again, because Commissioner De Leon wasn't here at the last meeting, and thank Commissioners Garcia and De Leon for their service in leading as chair and vice chair of this commission, and I hope that myself and Mr. Tardif as vice chair can continue to do as well. Thank you very much. Seeing that we've all had our opportunity to have comments, this meeting is now adjourned. Our next our next meeting is scheduled for July. Oops, I'm on the wrong one. Actually, it's listed as July, but it's scheduled for September 26th. Correct. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I did. Oh, awesome.
My family went there, so
Yeah, I grew up down the block in the Willard neighborhood.
Okay,
So
you're a little bit more than this.
Willard is just 2 blocks north of Civic Center.
Yeah, I went there.
I don't expect anybody to know how to spell it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just so we can, oh, actually, I wanted to see the desktop start. I just wanted to